good morning. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the 10 a.m. Technique Live at the Pet Parade online crop, and we're going to be talking about stamps and cardstock, a perfect combo, and just waiting for my video to pop up. There we go. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can just say replay. And be sure to comment because I love to hear when you're watching. And if you are watching and you're having a difficulty commenting, just know that you need to sign into YouTube in order to comment on the live video. All right, today we are going to do some crafting with stamps and cardstock, and we're using just plain basic white cardstock for our entire project. We are also going to be using a couple of stamp sets. We're going to be using the Pets and More stamp set, and this is a really cute stamp set. It's got a cat, a bird. This looks like a fox to me, which I'm not really, I guess that's the and more. Not too common to have foxes as pets, although I do know one person that has one. And a dog and a bunny. There's a little ball, a paw, a fish, and a dish. Now you'll notice that there are two different images showing up here. And what that means is these particular stamps have been created so that they're reversible and so that you can stamp on the front and the back of the stamp. So if you want, instead of coloring with inks or markers or watercolor pencils or those kinds of things, you can just flip your stamp over and add a color over your entire image. And that is because these are symmetrical images. So if you look at them, you will notice that they are same left side, right side. Even when they have a tail, they've just wrapped it around so that it's still within the same shape on both sides. So that's super fun and a different kind of technique. We're not going to be doing that on this project today, but it's good to know that's why those gray areas are showing on your stamp. Then we're also going to be using the Friends for Life stamp set, which, you know, when we have our fur babies, they are our friends. And so there are no sentiments with the Pets and More, but I thought I could use some of the sentiments from Friends for Life on my project today. So let's get started. I'm going to be beginning with a bunch of stamping because that's basically our whole thing today. We're doing stamping. So I've got a piece of basic white cardstock here. It was just a scrap in my bin. And on my stamp platform, I have loaded up the stamp that says friend from the Friends for Life, as well as the dog from the Pets and More. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my cardstock in there. Make sure it's up against the corner. And this way I can stamp it more than once if I need to. I'm going to use my Tuxedo Black Memento ink for this and ink up my stamps. Especially with this large word, I find it sometimes needs an extra stamp. So we're just going to go ahead and stamp that down and take a look. And yes, I think I will go ahead and stamp both of those again, and then we should be good. You always want to make sure you've seasoned your photopolymer stamps. And then stamp that down, and that looks great. Nice, crisp, clear image there. So we're going to set that aside for a minute because we're going to continue with our stamping. So we've stamped our little puppy dog. Isn't he cute? He's got a little collar with a tag. He's got some little droopy, fluffy ears. Super sweet, probably some kind of spaniel. Then we've got our word friend. And let's bring in our panel that's going to go on the front of the card. Again, just basic white. And this has been cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And we're going to be doing a little bit of stamping off the edge. So I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper here. Let me scooch that out of the way for now. And we're going to also need to have our whatever we use for cleaning our stamps, because we're using bunch of different colors and we're going to need to clean our stamp in between. So I've got my Stampin' Scrub here. I've taken my little water sprayer here and added a little spray of water there. That's all you need. Whoops. That's all you need to use this. So I'm just going to set this off to the side so that we have room to work over here. And we're going to use the stamp from Friends for Life that says best, because what is a puppy dog? It's man's best friend, right? So we're going to use the word best. So I've got it loaded up here on my block. I just want to make sure it's clean. It has been stained. Going to season it. It has been stained. As soon as you start using sort of more saturated colors with your stamps, the photopolymers, they will pick up, they will get stained. So really dark blue, like Night of Navy, which I love, that will stain. Dark reds, real red, those kinds of things, they'll stain. Good morning, Deborah. Nice to see you're watching. Happy Thursday. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to be using a bunch of colors. So I have some Stampin' Spots here. I've got Daffodil Delight, Calypso Coral, Pool Party, Granny Apple Green, and Fresh Fresia. So that's my color palette that I'm going to be working with for what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to scooch those out of the way and just bring in one at a time. So we're going to start with the Daffodil Delight. For this particular technique, I kind of like to start with the lighter color first and then kind of work my way up. So let's ink that up. And we're going to stamp on our card, and we're going to kind of concentrate on the right hand side. I've kind of got it here spanning this line. So we're going to concentrate on the right hand side, and we're just going to do some stampy. So there's the word best, and we're going off the edge, like I said. That's why we have our paper here. We're going to have different bits of it touching the paper and different bits of it going off the paper. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Now, before we wash this off, there's a lot of ink on there. So we're going to just stamp it off on our scratch paper, and that way we're not putting as much ink onto our stamp cleaner here, our Stampin' Scrub. So let's give that a scrub, wet, dry, season it again. I always season on my arm or on my hand. Don't want to take all your skin off or anything, but season it up. And then we're going to come in with the Calypso Coral, which is a deeper color. Actually, you know what? I was probably going to use that one later. Let's go for the Pool Party. We're going to get some light colors in here first. So Pool Party, we're going to ink that up. With the Stampin' Spots, you kind of got to just make sure you get everywhere. And let's give this a little stampy here. And we can overlap our words. We can move them left and right. But as I say, we're kind of concentrating on the right side of our card. There we go. That's good for now. If we decide that we need to add more of any particular color, then we can do that as we go on. Have you done a technique like this? Hey, Allison, good morning. Have you done a technique where you have just random stamped a sentiment? I know we do it with images all the time, but it's maybe not as common to use a sentiment or a word. I always was intrigued when my kids were in school and they would make name collages, and they would take their name over and over and over again to spell out their name, and it was always really interesting. And so I think this has sort of that same feel to it. So let's stamp. Now this one is the Fresh Fresia. Let me just double check. Yes, Fresh Fresia. And we want to make sure we go off the side and off the top and off the bottom, just so that it looks nice and random. Let's go there, and then we'll stamp that off. Give it a little scrubby scrub. Get it clean. Season it back up again. The reason we want to season is because we've just cleaned it, and that will help us make sure that it's dry, but it will also help the ink to not bead up on the photopolymer. If you ever had noticed that you get splotchy inking, sometimes it's just the nature of an ink, but usually it's because it's not seasoned enough. So let's go ahead, stamp all of our bests. Now you could do this with a big word, you could do it with a little word, you could do it with a phrase, any number of things. And let's see, maybe we'll do one there. Sure, why not? And let's do one more. I like this green color. I like how it comes out. Do one more right there. All right, stamp off the edge, or the excess, not the edge, the excess. And we're going to come in, that was Granny Apple Green. Now we're going to come in with our last one, which is Calypso Coral. The last one. This is kind of a fun combination. I was just kind of pulling out Stampin' Spots and finding colors that kind of gave a bit of a range. So this is what I ended up with. There we go. And so we're just filling in the last few little spots here. Let's stick one up here, like that. And even though we can't see all the words, we know that the word is best. We've repeated it enough times that that we know that's what it is. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's good. I think so, I think so. Okay, let's wash this off one last time. And set that aside, close this up. We can get rid of our scrap paper now. There we go. Now we're going to set that aside. We need to do, actually no, let's stick it on our card base. I've got some basic white again, and this has been cut to, let me see, which way are we going? Yes, 8.5 by 5.5. It's been scored down the center at 4 1/4. We're going to fold it with the bump side to the inside and just crease that down. And then we're going to attach this to the front of our card. Again, this is just a little bit smaller than the front of our card. So we'll have sort of a little line around the edge. So let me see again. This was 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Let's grab our take your pick tool to lift those backings off. There we go. And then we can attach this. So we're just leaving a tiny little edge of the card base showing all the way around. I think that creates kind of a nice stylized look to have that little bit of white gap. Even though we stamped off the edge, it kind of makes it look a little fancy, I think. And then let's bring in our other stamping that we did. We're going to be doing some fussy cutting with this, but we also need to do some coloring. So let me just kind of separate our two items using our little paper snips there. And let's do our coloring first. I'm going to bring in two different colors. I have Pecan Pie and I have Real Red. Now this might not look red, and that's because this is the light Real Red. And then I have the light and the dark Pecan Pie. So let's start with the light Pecan Pie, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to just wiggly color in the ears. I don't care if I have little white spots showing. And then we can go ahead and color in his face all the way down. I'm using the brush tip. And then we can go ahead and color. I'm going to sort of avoid that splotch on his shoulder and just color the rest. Oops, didn't avoid it on that side. It's okay. It's all good. Color it all in. Then we're going to come in with the dark Pecan Pie, and let's add a little bit of extra color there and at the bottom of his ear, a little bit around that side of his face and under his chin and along under the ear on this side. Then of course we can add a little bit of shadow under his collar and down this side, a little bit there, like that. Okay, easy peasy. We're keeping it simple. And then we can come in and color his nice little tag with that light Real Red. Okay, now time for fussy cutting. So let's do simple to advanced here. So we're going to start with our puppy dog. Going to rough cut him first. Scooch that out of the way. And I always like to start in some spot that makes sense. So I'm going to come in here along his ear. I'm going to pivot my paper as I fussy cut. And I'm going to leave a halo of that basic white showing around the edge. That's exactly the way it would be when you're die cutting. And so why reinvent the wheel? Why make it any different when you're fussy cutting? It allows for some leeway in case you get a little too close in one spot. You've not chopped anything off if you've left a little bit of leeway. And you just keep pivoting your paper. And when you come back in with your scissors, when you have to move them up, what I do is I get to about this point. I don't go all the way to the tip. I get to this point, then I open my scissors, and as I open my scissors, I slide forward. And so my scissor blade never leaves the spot where I was previously cutting. And that means you don't get those little snippy, jagged edges like you would if you took your scissors off and then came back to it. Again, we're going to rough cut around our sentiment here. The reason why we rough cut first is because if we have all of this excess cardstock dangling, it gets in the way, makes life difficult. So on this one, I'm going to start along this straight edge of the D and then come along. Sometimes I find it's not good to start on the point of something. So instead of starting at the end of the D, I started along sort of a more straightish edge, because then I can blend in better than if I'm trying to meet up at a point, if that makes sense, with the cutting. And we'll just go in and around. Ooh, got a little close there, but again, we have our little bit of leeway. And we don't need to go into every single nook and cranny. You just do what makes sense in your eye. And all the way around. Now, because this word, some of it's going to be on top of all that colorful stamping that we did, and some of it's going to be on top of the basic white background. This letter here at the beginning, the letter F, is going to be on top of basic white. And the little trick about that is that I don't need to try and fussy cut out the center of that with my X-Acto knife, because the background is going to be the same. Whereas over here, I'm trying to follow the edge because I want to see all that lovely colorful stamping we did. And I'm just going to get rid of that excess. If I don't cut as much as I am, then a lot of it gets covered up, which is fine because it's still, our brains fill in the missing pieces. So even though we're going to have some of those words covered up, even though some of the words are overlapping, even though some of the words are stamped off the side or off the top or bottom, then our brains fill it in and we still know that it's the word best, right? So let's come in and we're going to stick our word down first, and I want to use some dimensionals to do this. So let's grab some of these dimensionals there and there. We're going to have to cut some because this is a little bit narrow in places. Let's see. I cut my dimensionals all the time. So let's grab a few here in the wider spaces. And I've got some little narrow guys for the narrow spaces. There, and maybe one more. I've got some half guys over here. Maybe I didn't cut it all the way. Let's go to this one. That one didn't get cut all the way. It's still trying to hold together. It's got stick-to-itiveness. Oops, got extras. Extras. And now it's sticking to my finger instead of the paper. There we go. I'm just mumbling to myself now. All right, sticky, sticky. Let's attach our big word. We've got a whole bunch of words, and now we're attaching a big word. So you will notice when I post game number 2, which traditionally is our tic-tac-toe or our bingo, when you see that posted, one of the squares is only cardstock. And so this is kind of one of those projects that you could work on to get a tic-tac-toe, and it's done with only cardstock. There we go. And then let's also stick on our happy little puppy with some dimensionals. There we go. And this will create some dimension and some separation from all the stamping and make it stand out. Oops, I missed one. I thought I did. There we go. Let's tuck him down in here like so. And then we need to add some bling, of course. So let's bring in our rainbow adhesive-backed dots. Grab our take your pick tool. And let's add some lovely little dots. We'll add a couple there. And then one more up here. And it kind of matches with his little tag on his collar. And there we have it. That is our perfect combo, stamps and cardstock, best friend. And we started out with just our basic white card base, a panel that's slightly smaller. We did some stamping in several colors. We had our Daffodil Delight Pool Party, Fresh Fresia, Granny Apple Green, and then the Calypso Coral in there. We also stamped with our black to stamp out our image and our large word, fussy cutting those out, popping them up, and a little bit of bling bling on there to add some texture. And I think that is a super fun, super cute way to create a very simple card. And if you had to create a bunch of cards, this is a very economical way to create them as well. Just some simple stamping using your inks and cardstocks and stamps, and it creates a fun little card. I hope you enjoyed seeing that technique. And if you create a card like this or a any project like this, take a photo of it, pop it in the comments where I post my photos, and then we can all be inspired by your artwork as well. Have a great rest of your morning. We will be on at 11:30 for Chat and Craft. And just as a note, I have posted about this, but just in case you didn't hear, there will be no evening demo or afternoon demo today or evening Chat and Craft. My apologies, but I got scheduled in for a medical procedure, and so I have to go to that. And so we will be missing our demo tonight and our Chat and Craft this evening, but join me this afternoon for Chat and Craft, starting at 11:30 Eastern Time. All right, we'll see you soon. Toodaloo. Bye.